an Arab general who fought in more than 100 battles during his lifetime and never faced defeat. Even before accepting Islam, and afterwards as well, he never lost a single war. At the Battle of Uhud, it was his strategy to launch a counterattack on the Muslims, turning their near victory into a setback. In one battle, he broke 9 swords in his hand, after which the Prophet Muhammad honored him with the title Sayfullah, the Sword of Allah. Viewers, today we will talk about the family of Khalid ibn al-Walid. Which clan of Quraysh did Khalid belong to? What was his family's attitude towards Prophet Muhammad? What relation did he have with Abu Jahl, one of the greatest enemies of the Prophet? How many children did he have? And are there still descendants of Khalid ibn al-Walid alive in the world today? To understand this family tree, we need to go back 1,800 years to an Arab chieftain named Murra ibn Gabi, who lived in Arabia during the 4th century CE. The lineage of Murra's ancestors goes back 71 generations, tracing to Prophet Ibrahim or Abraham. Murra had several sons, but in today's discussion we will focus only on 2 of them, Kilab and Yagaza. From Murra's son Kilab came Qusay, the first chief of Quraysh. From his descendants came Prophet Muhammad, Ali ibn Abi Talib, and the Prophet's uncle Al-Abbas. Al-Abbas is regarded as the forefather of the Abbasid dynasty, which later established the Abbasid Caliphate. On the other hand, Khalid ibn al-Walid descended from Murra's other son, Yagaza. Yagaza's son Makhzum is considered the founder of the Banu Makhzum tribe. Since Khalid belonged to Banu Makhzum, let us focus on this family. Banu Makhzum was one of the wealthiest and most powerful clans of Quraysh. They were entrusted with leading the cavalry in battle, and their traditional profession was making and selling tents. Before the advent of Islam, they were considered among the 3 most powerful and influential tribes of Mecca, along with Banu Hashim, the tribe of Prophet Muhammad, and Banu Umayyah. Makhzum had 3 sons. From his eldest son, Imran, came Fatima bint Amr, who was the mother of Abu Talib, Abdullah, the father of the Prophet, and another uncle of the Prophet, al-Zubayr. This makes Fatima the grandmother of Prophet Muhammad. Fatima's brother, Abu Wahab, is remembered for setting a condition during the reconstruction of the Kaaba, that only wealth earned through lawful means should be used. The Quraysh agreed to this, but the amount of lawful money collected was not enough to rebuild the Kaaba completely. Because of this, the section known as the Hatim Hijra Ismail, which was originally part of the Kaaba, was left outside. It remains so to this day. From Makhzum's second son, Umar, came 2 of Arabia's most famous chiefs, Khalid ibn al-Walid and Amr ibn Hisham, better known as Abu Jahl. From Umar's son Abdullah came the lines of Hilal and al-Mugheera. Hilal's grandson, Abu Salama, was among the early companions of the Prophet Muhammad and was the first husband of al-Mu'mineen, Salama. Abdullah's other son was al-Mugheera, who lived in the 6th century CE. He was the chief of the Banu Makhzum and the grandfather of Khalid ibn al-Walid. It is said that under his leadership, the Banu Makhzum became the wealthiest and most powerful tribe in Arabia, ruling not only over the Kaaba, but effectively over all of Mecca. Al-Mugheera had 14 sons, 8 of whom were killed fighting against the Muslims in the Battle of Badr. Among his most well-known sons were Abu Umayyah, Abu Rabi'a, al-Walid, and Hisham. His son Abu Umayyah is remembered for his wise role during the reconstruction of the Kaaba. When the Quraysh tribes disputed over who would have the honor of placing the black stone, Hajar al-Aswad, construction stopped for more than 4 days. Abu Umayyah suggested that the first man to enter the Kaaba the next morning should be given the honor. By Allah's decree, it was the future Prophet Muhammad who entered first. The Prophet placed the black stone in its position, resolving the conflict peacefully. Another of al-Mugheera's sons was al-Muhajir, a companion of the Prophet Muhammad and a commander in the Muslim army. His birth name was al-Walid, but the Prophet changed it to al-Mugheera, saying, "One of the pharaohs was named al-Walid, and among the Banu Makhzum, this name had become so common that it was almost worshipped." Al-Mugheera's daughter was Salama, one of the noble wives of the Prophet Muhammad. Her birth name was Hind, while Salama, meaning Mother of Salama, was her honorific title. She became one of the most influential women among the Prophet's companions, widely respected for preserving and narrating many hadiths, sayings and traditions of the Prophet. Al-Mugheera's second son was Hisham, a commander of the Arab forces. His fame, however, rests in his son, Amr ibn Hisham, who was the cousin of Khalid ibn al-Walid. Amr ibn Hisham was the most bitter opponent of the Prophet Muhammad, not only from Banu Makhzum, but arguably in all of Arabia. Before Islam, he was a respected leader and was given the title Abu al-Hakam, the father of wisdom. But when Prophet Muhammad began preaching monotheism, Amr fiercely opposed him, often leading physical assaults on the early Muslims. He tortured many who had embraced Islam, including Sumayya bint Khayyat and Yasir ibn Amir. Because of his brutality, the Prophet gave him the infamous title Abu Jahl, the father of ignorance, and Firaun al-Ummah, the pharaoh of the nation. After the Prophet and his followers migrated to Medina, Abu Jahl gathered a massive army of Quraysh to attack the Muslims. In the Battle of Badr, he was struck down and fatally wounded by Muawid ibn Amr and Muad ibn Amr, and was finally killed by Abdullah ibn Masud. When Muslims conquered Mecca in 630 CE, the son of Abu Jahl, Ikrima, escaped as a fugitive for the Yemen, where the Makhzum had commercial connections. Prophet Muhammad later pardoned Ikrima, apparently after being petitioned by Ikrima's wife and paternal first cousin, Hakim bint al-Harith, who had converted to Islam. According to the historian al-Waqidi, Prophet Muhammad appointed Ikrima as a tax collector of the Hawazin tribal confederation in 632. Ikrima led campaigns across the Arabian Peninsula, particularly in Yemen. By 634 CE, Abu Bakr sent Ikrima and his troops to reinforce Khalid ibn al-Walid during the Muslim conquests of Syria. Ikrima was most likely martyred in 634 CE at the Battle of Ajnadayn against the Byzantines, though some traditions state he was martyred later in 636 CE at the Battle of Yarmouk. Al-Mugheera's most famous son was al-Walid ibn al-Mugheera, one of the wealthiest and most powerful men in Mecca. During the lifetime of the Prophet Muhammad, he was the chief of Banu Makhzum. He played an important role in the reconstruction of the Kaaba, but despite his wealth and prestige, he was among the fiercest enemies of Islam. The Quran refers to him indirectly in several verses, and he was regarded as one of the 5 greatest opponents of the Prophet. Al-Walid ibn al-Mugheera had many sons, some of whom are mentioned in this chart. Among them, 3 eventually accepted Islam. One of his sons was Umara, the brother of Khalid ibn al-Walid. On one occasion, the Quraysh brought Umara to the Prophet's uncle, Abu Talib, proposing an exchange, one man for another. Umara, they said, was among the strongest and most handsome young men of Quraysh, and they offered him in place of Muhammad. But Abu Talib firmly rejected their offer. Another of al-Walid's sons was Hisham, who embraced Islam. Yet another was al-Walid ibn al-Walid, who accepted Islam even before his brother Khalid, and later encouraged him to embrace the faith as well. Initially, al-Walid ibn al-Walid fought alongside Quraysh against the Prophet in the Battle of Badr, during which many of his clansmen were killed. He was captured by the Muslims, but Khalid and Hisham paid ransom to secure his release. Upon returning to Mecca, al-Walid declared his faith in Islam. For this, he was shackled and imprisoned by his own people. According to al-Tabari, al-Walid ibn al-Walid, along with Salama ibn Hisham, the brother of Abu Jahl, and Ayash ibn Abi Rabi'ah, eventually escaped Mecca and migrated to Medina to join the Prophet Muhammad and his followers. There, he later passed away after suffering a heart attack. Khalid ibn al-Walid ibn al-Mugheera al-Makhzumi was a 7th century Arab military commander. At first, he led campaigns against the Prophet Muhammad on behalf of the Quraysh. Later, he accepted Islam and devoted the rest of his life to serving the Prophet and the first 2 caliphs, Abu Bakr and Umar. Khalid played a decisive role in the Ridda Wars against rebellious tribes in Arabia, the early campaigns in Sasanian Iraq, and the Muslim conquest of Syria. Coming from the noble Qurayshi clan of Banu Makhzum, known for their cavalry, Khalid was an expert horseman and a fierce opponent of the Prophet in the early days of Islam. At the Battle of Uhud, he was instrumental in turning the tide against the Muslims. But after the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, Khalid embraced Islam, pledging allegiance to the Prophet. On the day of the conquest of Mecca, he entered the city as the leader of the Banu Sulaym and was appointed commander of the Muslim army. It was then that the Prophet honored him with the title Sayfullah, the Sword of Allah. At the Battle of Mu'tah, Khalid skillfully managed the safe withdrawal of the Muslim army against Byzantine forces. His victories in the Battle of Bazaka against Tulayha and the Battle of Yamama against Musaylama secured Arabia under Muslim rule. Under Khalid's leadership, the Muslims achieved decisive victories over the Byzantines at Ajnadayn, Fal, Damascus and Yarmouk, resulting in the conquest of most of Syria. When Caliph Umar assumed leadership, he relieved Khalid of his post as supreme commander, appointing Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah in his place. Still, Khalid continued to serve faithfully as Abu Ubaidah's chief deputy. Caliph Umar sent word to the Muslim garrisons in Syria and Iraq, clarifying that Khalid had not been dismissed due to corruption. Rather, he feared that the soldiers were becoming overly dependent on Khalid instead of relying upon Allah. He passed away in 642 CE in Syria. Caliph Umar later expressed regret at dismissing him, and the women of Medina mourned Khalid collectively at his death. He was buried in the Khalid ibn al-Walid Mosque in Homs, Syria. Khalid ibn al-Walid had 2 wives, Asma and Tamim, from whom he had 4 sons, Suleiman, Abdullah, Abd al-Rahman, and al-Muhajir. His son Abd al-Rahman became a prominent commander in the wars against the Byzantines, and later aligned himself with Muawiyah during the Umayyad era. According to historians, he was eventually poisoned. Khalid's other son, al-Muhajir, was a supporter of Ali ibn Abi Talib and was martyred at the Battle of Siffin fighting against Muawiyah's forces. The famous historian Ibn Hazm records that in 750 CE, during a plague in Syria, the remaining descendants of Khalid ibn al-Walid died out. This occurred either in the final years of the Umayyad Caliphate or shortly after the rise of the Abbasids. Afterwards, Khalid's estate passed to the descendants of his brother Ayyub ibn Salama. This inheritance included several houses in Medina where Ayyub resided. Ayyub was linked to the Umayyad Caliph Hisham ibn Abd al-Malik through marriage ties. Hisham's mother, Aisha, was the daughter of Hisham ibn Ismail ibn Hisham ibn al-Walid ibn al-Mugheera, a close relative of Ayyub. Through Ayyub's niece, Salama bint Yaqub al-Makhzumi, connections were also made to both Muslima, son of Caliph Hisham, and the first Abbasid Caliph, al-Safa. Salama was married to both of them at different times and had children from each union. From Salama and al-Safa's daughter Rayta, further ties were established with the Abbasid dynasty. Interestingly, in the 12th century, the poet Ibn al-Qaisarani claimed descent from Khalid's son, al-Muhajir. Some historians also claim that in the 16th century, the rulers of India's Sur Empire, including Sher Shah Suri, traced their lineage back to al-Muhajir as well. If you'd like to learn about the family tree of Iran's supreme leader, Ali Khamenei, and discover who could be the next supreme leader, just tap the video on your screen to explore it now. And if you're interested in the Aga Khan family tree, tap the other video on your screen and dive right in.